당한저 삼로 나라야 안 저게 제대 제상 저기 차비 유 통야다 되네 이 민인비 지로다 되네 추거바이나 안데 되네 양 저기 예르네 되네기 엔체 삼로티 유디 초로 마다와지 안데 지가 송고 그래서 안 되네게 유디게 차상 안도스네 규만하시레 선배기 도스네 삼단에 도스 아니 당고를 해야지다. 아니 디멘베게 당한 저기 내 엠발 파되셔. 다른 한도 로마장 와서 로마자에 가라 대 상하싱 멍보면서 내 엠바시 되셔. 도스지는 저기 도스 기초 제바이나 아니 냠는 제바는 냠나 야가 용그리에서 언데네제 디멘베게 저기 가서림 진에 나자로지 당갈래가고 오라지게 탑시 탑람균의 매리가 강할래야도 아니 디장야 삼단에 셈부수도 받잖아요. 누르고레스 되네 삼마다제 될래자 삼마카르탄 거레스는 어다 개왕함에 레기티브리 당연히 레기티브 민고레스 제사의 레기티브보다 뉴사사완자 제보디 기티나 영어 말이다. 진짜 레기티브 다들 강하데스 민제 한 마음바나 강함에 봐 차고 차기를 해서 레기티브디 마음바다 용어 먹어야 차기래. 된사의 레기티브 민고레스 또 삼다샤베나 아니 강아주가 연구해서 안 들이 좋아가도 되네게 걸 삼다나 당어레스티고 싫어하다.
Good afternoon. This morning we looked at how to relate to objects that arise to our mind, whether they're an object of attachment or anger, or even if it's an object that is unpleasant speech. And that's to relate to them as if they are an illusion, an apparition, or an echo. We also looked at how we should aspire to retreat to an isolated place away from the busyness and distraction of the world. And where we are unable to do so, at least try to isolate our mind from busyness so as to aid our mental training. We also looked at how to relate to illnesses and other difficult situations, recognizing firstly that worrying about them or being anxious about them only will make the situation worse. Rather, we should remind ourselves that these situations, such as illness, have come about in dependence on karma that was accumulated in a past life. It has now ripened, and therefore we won't have to suffer from this karmic seed again. It is now eliminated.
레로 뇽레 심중체 대체 달랑 안장 행사.
Returning to the text, when a hint of procrastination and laziness arises, at that instant, enumerate your flaws.
레로 세데 만족의 계위 자와 제발라 진이 맞춰봐디 레로 세우라 제에게 되고만 예봐. 때디 제뒤 매바로 시드네게 레로 세우라. 제가 레로 세도. 다 뇽레 세도 야 지게 된다 충충질이야 지게 지고거제 안내가 지게 주변냠는 제할파 지게 어다니가 딜레가디 제고 디마 제 녀레디 사고 선배 삼로셔로 와다서 되네 내가 충충을 된다 충충질라 내가 지고거제 안내가 저 기회 자와 마주바 제가 있나 다 뇽레세요 뇽레 되네게 삼로레도 안에 같이 오래 람나 나가 줄이야 기회 자와 제발라 냠는 제발라 바시가 쪼로 지 디수 최고를 레로세야다 뇽레세 지지 자왕한 신기 레로디야 지게 리카셰요로 디시데 안디니게 삼로 레도 아주 기회 자와 제발라 바시를 해서 어디 삼로디게
Laziness here then refers to a reluctance to engage in virtuous activities. A reluctance then, as we have experience of, can be taken as laziness, not wanting to engage in virtuous activities. And this is often comes along with making excuses, excuses that may be we present to ourselves as valid reasons. But underlying this, we need to look carefully to see if our motivation is actually one of laziness. Moreover, this can be expressed in a wide number of ways. Focusing, for example, on something of little benefit, so it can be said to be virtuous, but the benefit that comes from it is minor, and rather we put aside something that could be far more beneficial. So it's focusing on the relatively unimportant things that will bring about small benefits, rather than conserving our energy and our time for what is truly meaningful. Laziness, this then serves as an obstacle to the accumulation of virtue or the development of virtuous ways of thinking.
An chigi chu nyamlen chiya kohop shio de dinigi kohop shio dinigi da nga chugi chu chiya chu tuye ki nyaya da chigi lela ki na diri nyopsa da di dhukume nyanga dhukume asebe da diya ta an diri chiga chugi chigi gewi chawa karira dhuye na da diri da nyopsa di chigi me asebe dinigi lelo leo du chisan di lelo digi wangi da nga chuliya di gewi chawa chiya kohop rama so asebe ge da di kohop marawan zan ane kari chebare ne Dendige gewe jawa chebayna sosuge samloti gewe semlado shukchacha jone nubacheruwa di nubacheruwa na ngazo yawa chemalada migo wantoyare antarbada temji kibo wantoyale ta nyerjuwares jiza denige samlo denige gohabti ha mega chagdus an denige lelo denige cheyoda da ane chige yawa chemada tarbada temji kibo wantoyagi jebodi게 다른 차야 안 제딜이나 소수게 이제 퇴바당 되는 냠마지도 아니 도배 연대니까 맞게와 하모고 니수 차기도 제가 레로께와는 괜딘딘데 망고에도 고가 망고 쇼르도 제 레로사디 배 야고 민도 독자래샤 선배게 되는 게 괜다고 그래야지 낸장시스리
When we see our mind being lazy, whether we're expressing it by wanting to engage in virtuous activities of little benefit, or if we procrastinate, delaying engaging in virtue to another time, we need to enumerate our flaws. So what this actually means is not explicitly enumerate our flaws, but rather to remind ourselves of our need for spiritual development. So we recognize our limitations, our faults, and therefore our need to spiritually develop. Accompanying this, recognize the opportunity that we have. We have an opportunity now to read or to reflect, to cultivate the mind of the Dharma within us. And an opportunity like we have now, this we should not waste. We should not waste it through being distracted by what has little importance. Rather, we should use the opportunity we have to accumulate causes for good rebirth, accumulate causes to spiritually develop and eventually attain liberation and enlightenment. And we do so also through recognizing that this opportunity that we have right now, it will end, and we may well not get such an opportunity again.
Then do you nimbo temperatures? Do you nimbo temperatures? That's all. That the nigga lelo da magele karcha gorsene juge samlut naje benenga juge sanyu chemden de se ine dangbo ngara nasin jibares 제가 jiba inza sanyu jibare de ine sanyu chemden de be jige gewe jawa nyamnen je zunju cheche lelo ma cheba lelo bang pa zunju che beju che ne nyamnen cheche ne semja tamji donale ya anje jamba de inje komya da jashu sem komya da denege lam nyamne rumba jendu sanyo ko toso ji gyön kunse yön de gunne chabares da dene chawanza da dujuk labdu da sanyo chumne ne korongi nyamyong yu thone anje ke 동화 세야다 디규주야 탑람 땡셰바디 상여 줌낸 디규 송바나 신제네 안에 상여 줌낸이 그런 한변에 랍중제 안에 곰잡 가와지 주변 냠네 퇴바제 담보 퇴바제 되네 되한 삼 되네 곰 냠네 제 상주 고바 토바레 디나신 두슈클레드 제랑스 오르데 디제랑 디나신 아니 자가야 반도 곰보 루루다 안 디만베게다 로바 아야 대와라 소바다 시와라 소바다 데니게다 케로망보 자가나레 데니게 상유점nen지 손샤바 디나신 제네 냠네 제제 직 냠네 제가 망무충와레스 제가 디나신 나주이네 콘주기 연된 제비기 냠는 진의 제바 따진 아우지네 콘주제 어디니기 전에 저 나야 되는 전에 안지기 탈바텀 지고 뭐 톱투그리에서 비기 대배주의 제제 안도 두시네 콘주 나신 나와 나신 정아주 냠는디 제고래서 우리 두주 인보 점버자세데 되네 콘주기도 제바데 아니 저 삼다 제바제 될이야 되네 점바제 아니 랑기네 디나신 냠는 지긴서 비기 어두시네 대바제 안 대바기는 전류체 안 냠는 제고래 제래.
So in addition to the third line here, where we remind ourselves of our need to spiritually develop and that this opportunity will end, so therefore we must utilize it well, we should also then recall the essence of spiritual conduct. Here we turn our mind to our role models, and we generate strength of mind by desiring to become just like them, to develop their same good qualities. For example, we turn our mind to Buddha Shakyamuni and remind ourselves that he was not always a Buddha. He was an ordinary being at one point, no different from how we find ourselves right now. And at that time, he took the teachings to heart and with vigor applied himself to the utilization of mindfulness and vigilance and conscientiousness. He heard many teachings, reflected and meditated on them, training in the correct sequence, giving rise to a deep and profound understanding of the sufferings of samsara, and applying that then to the situation of others, and generated love and compassion and bodhicitta for them, and reflected in a profound manner on the correct view. And through training like this, he transformed himself from an ordinary being, no different from ourselves, into a perfected being, a Buddha. And having become a Buddha for the sake of others, he was able to enact the benefits, the welfare of others in a way that other ordinary beings cannot. And we can see the evidence of this in that through the historical accounts of the benefit that came to beings who received teachings from him directly, as well as the historical lineage that has continued his teachings from when he was abiding in the world right up to the present day. So many beings received his teachings, applied themselves to the teachings in the same way that he did, and cultivated those self-same realizations within themselves, beings such as Nagarjuna, Chandrakirti, Aryadeva, etc., right up to the present day. Here then, turning our mind in this way, we can generate an enthusiasm, a strength of mind, again turning our mind in a positive way, away from distraction to mundane affairs. Even where we see something as being worthwhile, see it rather in its true light, and apply ourselves with vigor to what is truly important. And this way, we can live a meaningful life, take the essence of this life. Through generating joyous perseverance, we make the most of what remains of this opportunity.
Dine zada ngana jige zoon deba se di ane jige nyamlen che ge da deba se chue la sangye da ane jige chue da control ya deba ke ne dine ge deba shuk chimpu jue na deba digi dele ane dönye ge dumba le gres dönye ge dumba le na ane zönju le gres chizan zönju ge le na dine ko lelo de ga ru re chizan dine zang ma lobjong che la nyamlen che 제발은 이제 용구레스. 되네자 내가 저기 대바세디 아니 지금 저기 남 최념는 제발라 당보 대바도 줘. 대바스 줘제. 제가 대바스 아마나지레스. 대바유나 는 아마 될라 되는 아주 부분에 부게 되는 미망고 차고로 미망고 차디 차고로 디나신 고 대바유나 되니 dum발레 그래. dum바유나 Delia Jawadil, Zumbi, Zunduli, then the Lelo the Kagris. Diro Adanga Zukarine, Lagaro, Lobjon, Nada, Zemo in the Sosuki, Zemotil Bay, Deba, Jag, Debo, Shukchambora, Shuchubana, Charva Jabnade, Namshi Dramo in that, how in that dinner, Jag, Dunya Dumba Shuchum, dinner Dunya Dumba Shuchuma, dinner say to war. Delia Dunya Dumba Mena, then Dunya Dumba Mena. Then it do so the Yahoyana, that they knew Zim knew good to Saturday, and the Hajing message, then a Hungura watches that. Dineza, Donny Dumbo Shuchimbo, Debacha, Donny Dumbo Shuchim, then Donny Dumbal, Zunduli, Zundi Yabuli, Zundi Yabulena, Kashi and Trishan, and Yamleche cohort, Jovashli Chikitis, Dinin, Lelo Young Mares, Lelo in Yambo, Tiadi, Delia, Murbata, and Devachayata, and Dumbakia, and Yamleche Dumba, Donny Dumbakia, Zundi.
In the previous segment, the explanation I gave was one of generating faith. Faith in the Buddha, faith in the Buddha's teachings, and faith in his skills and realized practitioners, the Sangha. And the stronger one's faith, the more readily and easily we'll apply ourselves to cultivating the good qualities of the Dharma within ourselves. The stronger our faith, the greater our perseverance will be to achieve our spiritual goals. And as I mentioned yesterday, faith to be transformative arises in dependence on deep reflection, reflecting on the good qualities and the benefits of the beings in whom we place our faith, as well as the goals to which we aspire. So faith, or conviction, arises in dependence on deep reflection. And faith is often likened to a mother, in that just like children are born from a mother, all good qualities within one arise from faith, because it's faith that gives us the strength of mind to transform habit patterns which may take us in the direction of laziness and procrastination, turn us away from what we find attractive to what we know is meaningful. And this is a process that is applied in our society in general. If we think, perhaps you yourselves are, or you know of others who are aspire to be skilled athletes or sports people, such people, no matter the weather, they wake up early and they're out there training. And they do so all year long. We have the Olympics coming up, and these athletes will have been training for most of their life with incredible diligence. So taking what's highly world-class athletes, the attitude that they apply to become world-class, we apply that to our spiritual development, and we too will develop a powerful, focused mind. Our introspection, mindfulness, conscientiousness will be unshakable, and in this way, our spiritual transformation will come about rapidly.
Dene galde shanda tongwe che shidi songbor mawa dangs.
The text continues, however, if you do encounter others, speak peacefully and truthfully.
Zanda galde shanda tongwe che sidang zo mi shamba nyumdo tuya da cheya da denegi 직지어 될까요? 안에 샘 코너다 맞아 가상 키는 주바래 셴 스카네 통소마 투여되네 안디기 베 마세기 다 대화도 받아라 나신 대화도 동아미도 지바래 삼제 콘솔레 대화 주나 샘베게 시위 샘 잡고 잠베 삼게야다 아니 샘젠 디네 통네 안예만의 랑게 파마다 랑리에 진침보레 깨진침보레 아 샘비 진침보에 바삼다 댕이야 딜렌 조고 고레 샘비게 데네게 시위 콜레 잠바단 제외 삼다야다 콜레 펜비 삼다 당고레스 안에 송부르마스의 정보 콜레야 안직 데네게 기시고이나 지금 람된 제야 당도 쓰네 직 가리 토위네 대시에디베 정보 장샤 콜레야 람된 제야마도 고거다야다 안주시야다 데네지교 말에서 시디 정보 송부르마스 송부르마스의 정보시고레스 그래.
This has a close connection to what I presented yesterday. When we encounter others, in dependence on the training we've done previously in our meditation, when we encounter others, we'll immediately recognize that this person I have a close and intimate connection with. No matter who they are, whether in this life they are a stranger to us or not, we have a close and intimate connection with them. Because in a previous life, perhaps the one immediately preceding to this, we would have had a relationship of parent and child with them. We may have been their child, or they may have been ours. And this is the case with every being we meet. We do have such a close connection with. And in that lifetime, as well as in this lifetime, they have either shown us direct kindness, or their activities, in terms of the greater interconnection of beings, their activities bring us benefit. There is a deep and fine web of interconnection between all of us. And thinking like this, as well as with the recognition that this being is no different from me, on a fundamental level, we are exactly the same. We want to be happy. We want all our encounters with others to be warm and close and straightforward. We don't want to suffer. We don't want to be deceived. We don't want to experience any unwanted circumstance. We're all exactly the same. And being aware of this, naturally, we'll communicate with them in a manner that is honest and straightforward and sincere. And it will be as sincere because we will understand our close connection. We'll be motivated by wanting the very best for them. In this way, everyone we encounter, we'll communicate with them in a peaceful and a trustworthy manner. Do not grimace or frown, but always maintain a smile.
Deniki Chebaina and the Pachodi Semjen Shandaki Kiwungu Mara Consul Semakiva Chakres, Shazam Consul Kama Tigre, the next in Chikyo Mareje.
Motivated by a wish to bring benefit to others, and certainly at the very least not to harm them, then do not interact with others with a grimace or a frown. Because we know when we encounter someone whose facial expression is such, immediately apprehension arises within us, possibly fear. Rather, we should engage with others with a warm and loving attitude and express this through having an open and welcoming disposition.
Ma and Chiki, Numbu Twenty, Chikton, Numpio Yahu, Sambo, and Chiki, Gishebe, Chik Jambo, Manubitone, Manubat, Oduski Shada, Gedina, Denetunian, Jetio, Ores, Deneza, and Kachi Nagi, Numpurta, Gishada. And Chiki Shale, Jamzig, Jambo Chia, Shale, Manubit share, Lugi, Numbutia, Derina, and Shale, Manubata, Shan, and some Maki Zubiki, the Nikimatumbache, Fish, and Kishavena, some narrow danger, Duchene, and Jawores, in it, Jawores, Sumua.
Dependence on one's prior meditations, having come to understand that others also want to be free of pain and misery, yet their life has many difficulties and they carry their own burden of difficulties. That combined with understanding they only want to be happy just like myself, and a feeling of closeness, of intimacy with them. We'll not want to harm them in any way. we'll not want to add to their burden of pain and misery. Rather, we'll want to interact with them in a way that eases their suffering and where possible can be of benefit to them. And in that way then, with sincerity, we will interact with others without a grimace or frown, but always maintaining a pleasant disposition.
미 토리 기시 셔야데 정보 셔야다 안 숨다 야고 돼야다 안도 셔야지 넘규되는 최고래 제사다 초위스 직동 주보 돼야다 직주보 셔야다 안 지미 고고다야 기셔야다 디치교 말해서 그러와 제사 데네길야 넘규니와 저기 원고라 다 디니기 요야 차상 대진 기신 셔바나지 가를 때는 연구를 좀당 나고 돼야 주부돼야 직주부셔야 한 견주해야 주인셔야지 약간 륜하게 넘기기 줘봐도 가리리고 와서 나가셈을 때는 리고래지 셈 나로야 시한려 당외 셈바다 시한라 마그외 셈바 콩초게 삼바 줘봐이나 니기 견전에 먼저 숨다디 동 넘기되 나고돼야 주부 넘부돼야 한 치기셔야나 한 직주부셔야 용하디 되는지 용거래 just 하는 그것 나야다 샬레 네버기에게 삼로 줘봐이나 되는 아기 기셔야 돼 주셔야 그것 나야 기셔야지 되니기 진짜 안 류유권에 샬라 주비 줘봐야 되기네 되는 리고래 제가 뒤서 찾아 나sem을 되는 용거래 제가 뒤에 인자 만족에 낭 디셈 샬레 네베 삼바다 예 지금 그 다음에 삼바 콩조게야다 샹고호다에 삼로디게 계주교 말해서 그러데 네가 하고 그래서 네가 안에 가리 디 잡로 가르삼 땅고 그러려나 샹리아 안지게 펜베 삼바다 샹리아 제외 삼바 샹리아 네베 삼바 네베 지금에 삼베 삼로 디코 그래서 디 삼로디 개바이나 니게 샹리아 제외 삼바다 젬베 삼바 줘바나 니게 나게 넘기디 룽하게 넘기디 숨다돼야다 직 냠보셔야 동게 넘게나 야고때야 룽하게나 샬레 펜버주야 샹고홀마다 야고데 안지게 따도 좀나 당신 네버자스 네버디 용투고래제데 디 용고 지사 디 마주야디 나로 삼로들라리고래제 지사 디 삼로디 용구두에 민두 간에서 용구두면 람상한저 가브리엘랑서 하모가 용고래 제사 디니에서 저 가산시바네 전시신데 비지 당고래서 전시신 된체기디네 전바다 시신데 시신기 아니 삼로나래 된디 코구두에 민두선배 삼마 시신에 다치지야다 안데니게 니기 시리 밀리아 직수보 차기도 동 되는 동기두에 민두선 시신기도 제바제 되네 시신이 하고 있는 남산 전백이 된지 오다 잠도 되네 코너 지금 말해 선배 삼다야다 삼도 되네 잠바다 되네 삼당고 선배 되네게 잠바 템베 친구 지다 전시신이디 도스네 베셔다체 소리야 제 삼바때 낭 굴롱게 삼바디 도스네 교왔던 거랬어 디 지다 디 삼바 교왔던 바는 제 주인 륜하게 넘겨대 약올리 거래제로 도나디래
As was mentioned in the very first session and each session subsequently, our physical behavior and our verbal communication comes about independent on a motivating mind. If our mind is wholesome, our speech and behavior is going to reflect this. If our mind is unwholesome, our speech and behavior will reflect this. So therefore, if we're interacting with others with a grimace or frown, or if we're interacting with them with a smile, this comes about in dependence on the motivating mind. And we also know this from our daily life, that if we're in a bad mood, we're likely to be very sensitive, we're likely to get upset very easily. And conversely, if our mind is spacious and calm, then we can deal with life's difficulties so much more skillfully. So recognizing this, we use this then for ever further encouragement to turn away from being under the influence of unwholesome minds, trying to ensure our mood stays light, we're not being drawn to either thoughts of anger and aversion, nor to attachment and desire, but rather keep the mind light and calm. Because when the mind is not afflicted, it's in a wholesome place, and we can much more easily interact with others in a way that is beneficial. And especially where we've been training, coming to value others, recognize our close and intimate relationship that we share with all others, recognizing how we are really on a fundamental level no different. We'll want to interact with them in a way that does value, where we express the value that we hold them in. And therefore, the mental factors of introspection, mindfulness, and conscientiousness play such a crucial role, so that we're always aware if our mind is going in a wholesome or unwholesome direction, and if we need to correct it or sustain it. And as we strive ever more in this regard, this will become a habitual way of thinking. We'll become habitually aware of our way of thinking, habitually aware of what is wholesome and not, and ever more skilled at turning our mind from afflictions to wholesome ways of thinking, and keeping our mind wholesome and virtuous. And this comes about, all these trainings come together in helping us to have ever more skills to deal with life's difficulties, whether they are slight or more severe. So as one trains in all of these trainings, this gives us ever more skills, ever greater skills, ever more talents to deal with life's difficulties. As we see the success coming within our training, we'll strive ever more constantly to be the person that we long to be.
Dene samlo le rale badi be ma se samlo se di nibe chimbo yinza samlo le shibu rale go do bene dang nganzu nyamyo tyo so so re karazin dat bene nganzu komba nala de du tat nganzu sha ta di yende bu mangro bu chu mangro wa dene nganzu nalo be sha da de pra lo de dene bu zo labda da dene lu de den bu zu chi lo de ba cha sa wa de zema shu de ge jo be zema ze go ro ge kyap che zema ze go ro That's awesome. I'm just saying, I bet you loyal. She would do something. Some non Danish crossana, some dinner corner, and the Galosana. Now, do deploy Yabuligmua, and now do to me. Do you mother Chilo Denche Puzolia? I guess I'm just how you the Maze, Party, Sosana Shanal, Pazu, Desho said, Denishe, and Pusana, Mahawasha, Maki, or other Ducitus, that Semuche, the Midity, Bedigni, Manzulia, Zemo, Tolam, Tubze, Dangu, something, Puz, and Mahawa, some Maki was Chagor, what and Denigi Chagor, what? Then some Dadicalia, then Puzemotedical, some Dana Chochilia. And that Pussy, Zemola Koshure, and then was a Mina, Semja Dure, Chujuka, Zemo Shu Goyores, Yamang and I didn't say. She's not from the Zemas and I have my house earlier, the Tutu de Honsley, Zemas, Yapore, some jet, and so I do some dache, shall I came into some dache. And then I give some Busudo would leave me that in Sosugi, deploy Rochina, Chipechayene, and the Kangaskalim, the Corchilo, the Kaze, Capchichi, Sosulia, Kangaskaligum, Ligminua, and to get that just Nyamyorochi, legal or what. There's a some not asho, she would have at the Yungdua. Then I think the down some Tashogi, Deji Naji, Sheva Naji, so some knowledge, champion some lot that can do and beauty, Yapo to Gore, so some knowledge, Nube somebody, to be somebody in the Lunga and beauty, Nambash Ligora, Dilatin and Anzuki, Deduk the Leung, watches under some Tanta Bear, must a Kitchimura Chagdua. Kitchimura, Nuba Chimbura, some Tanta.
Taking care of our mind is of the utmost importance because of the great power our mind has. There's really nothing quite like it. If we take any situation, wanted or unwanted, how we think about it determines how we experience it. All unwanted situations are unwanted because of how we are thinking about it. So, for example, I'll share an example from my own life, which I would assume many of you have experience of as well. So, in our monastery, there are many young monks, and when they come home from school in the break time or at the end of the day, they've got all this energy after having been cooped up in a class for a long time, and they play with frantic energy, and accompanying this is a lot of noise. So myself and all the other monks, we are usually then in our rooms. We are either trying to memorize or we're trying to think deeply about what we are studying, preparing for our debate later that night. Or maybe we're in a teaching, hoping to, trying to hear our teacher. And outside, there's all this youthful enthusiasm and joy being expressed. So there, it's very easy for the mind to respond in a particular way, thinking, all that noise is serving as an obstacle to what I value as important. So I'm trying to either hear a teaching, or I'm trying to memorize, or I'm trying to reflect deeply on the teaching. This is something of great importance. And now these little kids are serving as obstacles for no important reason. They're kicking a ball around or chasing each other around. That's really frivolous. And then it's very easy to get up and act out on that way of thinking. The speech that will follow from such a mind will be harsh. There will be no smiles, but there will be plenty of frowns. And following from the frowns and the wagging finger and the raised voice, all those joyful young minds will suddenly become unhappy, suddenly become fearful. That's one approach. Another approach is to recognize what I'm doing right now is of great importance. But these are young kids. This is what children do. When they have the opportunity, they play. They love playing, and I was no different when I was young like them. And now, actually, as an adult, I express this in a different way, but I'm still no different. I also like to relax with my friends, and that's how I take my joy. So really, even on this coarser level, I am no different. And when I was younger, just like them, because underneath all of this is my yearning for happiness and freedom from suffering. The kids are now playing because they want to have freedom from suffering but enjoy happiness. And me, I'm trying to study or hear the teaching or meditate because I also want to be happy. So let me keep my mind virtuous, let the kids be kids, and in this way, that same situation is experienced in a completely different way. The children have a wonderful break. They can go back to class with a happy mind and hopefully engage well with what their teacher is trying to teach them. And my studies continue unimpeded. So this is an illustration that we probably can all relate to. But it relates, we can apply that to every single experience we have. The way we experience it depends on our way of thinking. And we have some control over our way of thinking. In particular, if we train repeatedly to turn away from unwholesome minds and to embrace wholesome minds, we can transform how we experience any situation.
Sungore, Chesa, Nichige, Tanga, Ganga, Chikse, one, Penanga, Tenichi, Ganga, Dingalia, Ganga, Tigos, Kolia, Nevaki, Chik, Penanga, the Burushi, the Mirochina, Chik, Kolia, Neva, Ganga, Kochik, Meva Surfer, Yachik Twinger, Yachika, Chinganzu, Nevaki, Gangati, Anzu Mashiba, to Meva Sutu, and Meva. Chesa. Just delay deep member Sosuke someone that Sosuke Jamzi Yamnacha, Sosuke Sube Yamnacha, the Nigi Yamnacha, Sosuke someone on the Guaj Yamnacha Shabana, and the Chilola Karishana, Karakunju Chevena, Shanea Medigana, and the Kanga Miha Chago Regide, Penekis Shivala Chimbuki, Piero Sharwade, Penesagital Samada Shu, Jovene, Mazukumbaja to the Adi Sama Zamasu said, then I come for the Su said Zamasu, then it's Zamasu, then it's Zamasu, High Mares. The Niki Chizang Mazumashi Badu did Zamasu, Suma, Shine Zamasu Sagmar, the Ladugores, Chizangazi, Chasamiasu to your mares. Dana Kari, Tablam Karior, Lamna, Nanzo Hangoya, Uchiche, Tilia, and Tea, Hango Ti Doboya, Uchgaje, Hango Gambal Grange. Combadia Droshavena, Kao Drovena, Gambalia, New York, Semasu Gamati Maris. Jeza, Manzo Hangoya, which Gwene, Kao Drovena, Semaka, Dina Drovene, La Gansu Gambal, New York Minuas, Dina Shin, 민요다 소보다 제승보다 되는 같이 지신 맞기와 되는 강한 여배네 소소게 잠니지 고미하다 쇠비 냠는 제 소소게 삼로드 냠는 야고 주바네 되니기 돈의 소설야 샹다기 소소게다 샘들 흘려지 기우차 되기 주변에 동아디 디세 투그레 마도 샹디야 동아 용어도 디야 동아 용알은 이기스 매바선 쇠차요 말지자 소소게 삼로 배제다 소소게 삼로디 야고서가 계시 모르에서 송거로 나 돈다 지도 차상 집어래 가서 디셔야 되다 차상.
What should be abundantly clear from all our talks thus far is that the happiness we yearn for comes about in dependence on a way of thinking. Being free of suffering comes about in dependence on a way of thinking. Suffering itself comes about in dependence on our way of thinking. So we can't change our external environment much. We certainly struggle to change the behavior of other people very much. We can't control how others act, how others talk, or what situations we encounter. We can't have everything go our way. We can't always have others act in accordance with our wishes, especially since our wishes change so often. There's a very famous verse from Shantideva, where it says, "Where could I possibly find enough leather with which to cover the surface of the earth? Having leather on just the soles of my shoes is equivalent to covering the earth with it." So here he's saying, if there are thorns outside, well, one can sweep the thorns away. But there will be further thorns will come, or if one walks a little further, there will be thorns over there as well. One cannot change the external world, but one can take control of one's own mind. So the key point being presented here is that it's not the situations that we encounter or people that we encounter that we need to change. It's our way of thinking that we need to change. And it's not because of what someone said or what was done or what someone didn't say or didn't do that we are upset about. It's because of how we think about what was said or done. Therefore, we need to take control of our own mind, transform our own mind. Returning to the text, in general, when you see others, be free of miserliness and delight in giving.
Jin Chemboda, Gidin, Chiki, Yakucha, Jamba, some Tada, Zewa Comata, Tesolia, and never Chigme, some Taya, and Denegi, Gundu Gidina, some of the Tichang Betone, and the Karchiors and Serna Meche, Jinlaka, Consulia, Roba, Gang, Tudu Cheg, Karikanji, Tone, Pando Kanju, the Colia, and Jimba Tanchen, and Jimba Tankoli Roche, called Tiki to Yadam, and called Dunga Seyalia, and do Shegorese.
Whenever one encounters others, whether humans or animals, ensure that the minds one has been developing in meditation, that these come to the fore, and thereby, based on an attitude of respect and appreciation, engage with them in a kind-hearted way, in a loving way. In whatever way one can aid them, and do so with sincerity. Do so in a genuine manner. Take delight in aiding others. So the meaning here then of giving, we can understand in a broad manner. And miserliness is the attitude holding ourselves back from that. Give of ourselves to others. Ease their burden. Bring joy to others. And take delight in doing so.
Nyamlen Chidu Kabla, Shen Dunga Seada, Digi Tubegi, so the Semjan Tamja Sanjo Govan, Sanjo Govan Tovia Dian, Garicin Togore, Sanjo Gova Togores, Shengi Dunga and Digi Jubiala, and the Chigi, Yendin Pusum Sobachi, Masa Mebaina, Shengi Digi Druptuya and Dunga Gachimu said to Yadi, Chagiminucine, Dineza, Sanjo Govan Toyaldi, Semjan Tamji Dunga and Digi Jubia, Donala Sanjo Govan Togus, Denega Kuno, Kelechaji Semban, Nangorova. Now as I tell you, Semani do Nambu, the Gidi in there, and Shengi. Shen de bene dunga the dunga se tiki tuyala ya shen lia and chike bene ne saya tuya dan dulo dan denige kama yobatlia denige benjo tene robacha and di membe da khonzuliam nevalia mengi tone robacha du chin robacha jimbata and di membe da gidi ne and chike khonzulam 내가 서투베네 마음바나 코는데 띵이 되어요. 유디 코런스라 사주고 그러와. 제가 사주고데 코런스 발롭된 제제 안 되네게 되는 삼드네 땅고래 진변냐면 동회 삼바 공고래 류가 유슨 예저된베 주름 숨고래 소소라는 게 냠는 제바디 하는 코런스는 되네 제고래서 롭된 제 코런스야 랍자 롭된 제제 두치네 냠는 제주고래 제바이나 하는 건축이 내가 Dikita dunga seya de, diki tubyare, and maombana tenjaki diki tubya dunga seya lia, dus pengore, dus nango, chanji sembanami dus nangore se gorwada.
Bodhisattvas have as their goal the attainment of enlightenment, and they have this as a goal because they've recognized that all beings are just like them in wanting to be free of pain and misery, and wanting to experience lasting happiness. But the Bodhisattvas recognize their limitation in being able to guide beings to achieve liberation. So therefore, they have to become a Buddha as quickly as possible so that they can become that skilled guide who can help others in the most meaningful of ways. To attain Buddhahood, huge stores of merit need to be accumulated, merit acquired through many virtuous deeds. And with this goal, and bodhicitta has as its goal enlightenment for the sake of others. Another way to express it, bodhicitta has its goal to be of meaningful benefit to others. So therefore, whenever the bodhisattva is presented with an opportunity to be of benefit to others in any way, whether minor or a supreme way, a bodhisattva with delight will wholeheartedly embrace this opportunity without any hesitation or miserliness, without holding back. They will help others, whether it's to help them materially, whether it's to help them through giving advice, whether it's to help them in the Dharma or in an ordinary way. With great enthusiasm and joy, the bodhisattva will help others. And whilst helping them, the bodhisattva will ensure they are practicing ethical restraint. In other words, they will ensure there's no taint of their afflictions whilst helping others. And in this way, they are able to help others in a truly selfless manner.
네 상승의 진배 냠는 세야다 대송한 저기 튕긴 돈을 로봇이야 되게 상승의 진배 냠는 로봇이야 되게 그래 다 되네 미직비 진바 세대 신 소를 껴비야 베네 부로 추나사데 베네 주 껴비야다 안샘진 시야다 되네게 미인에 가는선 소를 냥아 유에디 소를 껴봐 있나 다 미직비 진바 고가서는 소를 껴제 셋 타와지고로와 제산 소를 껴고 미직비치마 거 미직발래도 거 지히로지 매바 차로지고로와 제산디 껴완자 거 매바 지야들이 바 껴완자 미직바 차소 미직바 미직비 거 진바차 미직비 진바 근데 취기 진바 저거 제산 다 소수기 냠내 삼로 땅탕기 다나 뭐서 대시셔바티에 삼로 되니시 다나 아니 강아지게 삼로 되니시 야가 용거스 베데네게 소수긴 하고 와티게 파 안도수 삼로 되니 당고 되니 지고래 해야지 안도시네 취기 될 옵션 제타티게 파 랍주 제바나데 취기 진바 해야지 안도시네 아주 진비기 릭텔라 되네게 숨숨거래.
Training in generosity is cultivating the wish to give. And so in meditation, one trains in the wish to give in three ways. And when one is presented with the opportunity in everyday life, in dependence on that training, one will readily give to others. There are three divisions of generosity. The first is material generosity. The second is that of giving fearlessness. The giving of fearlessness is helping those whose life is in grave danger, those who are fearing that they are about to die. So whether it's an insect in a pond of water or another being who's facing death, the practitioner then helps free them from this fear of death by saving their life. So this is the second. The first was material generosity, which we already know well from society. And the third is the giving of Dharma. So the giving of Dharma is either explicitly teaching the Dharma, or it's giving guidance or advice to those in need. So these are the three types of giving: material, fearlessness, and Dharma.
Di samlo dene shili di samlo chu degi dene chöba na ngarang go du shande tigi me sambe samlo chöba na yangi nga zuge shanli roji gi nuba dang go gap chöba ne roba che dang go ji ma re se go cha ji ma di samlo de me ba so go res di samlo de me ba so wala ane gar sam dang go re lam na ngi gare na shanli dong dang gi sambe samlo de jang go res di samlo digi take me sambe samlo de me ba so go re cha dine za ngi gare ina cha sa shanli tegi shabe chen dunga se ya da digi duya tanda le kare na ngi tangi sambe tongwe semba de du chen samlo de yani ya donga jugi dang ngo su la len ta le ya ma ju shan da le ya ji je tu na ma tu ne dang bo samlo ja ya de la ngi lu kare sina shan le ya chin digi duya dunga se ya tanda la tangi sambe ge samlo de jang go res ya control le chobo phugin sambe sam cha sam phugin sebe samlo jang go res ja di tongwe sampa so di jimbo gom se di re jimbe nyamne jimbo gom se di tongwe sampa de ngi karin da nga su gi ngi longchue karin da shen dunga se di gi de jigi na sampa samta da andi ma se so su gi lu dan longchue lu di gi shanda le beje ta je shan le dunga se di gi ruya ge se beje ta ya ni di yang ngi tangi sampa samta ane ya ji so su gi gewa sa shi be gewa di ya shen semjen danda digi ruwe dunga seya konsul ya ngowa jakin sembeke du chine sam dangu gore di lo di jangu gore esanganzo du chine di shen dangi sembe lu longchoe keswa shada tam che shengi digi ruwe da dunga seya da shen la jigi sembe sam daya da ya konsul le pyugin sembe sam daje du chine sam yane du shenzi jangu gore di tongwe semba se jimbo gomba se or jimbe nyamnen ji jimbo gom se di samta yane samta di samta edu ane tegme sembe sena di shukchun ru to gore chisa dine enza tanga zulya dine ge samba chang edu chema shen le ro che da phando che gohap che sosu gohap rawa da sosu ge nyuba che ba ina sosu ge beje tang tu gore ro ba che tu gore samlo di chang chisa dine ge tongwe samba chang ya di jimbe nyamne che se gomgo de ki chimbore sungore sesa sena se di samlo de yago mares dige rashin nikala nugo res desanda di dokcho garsen tongye sempa se de anzulia samlo di changdo che di samlo de yago res di changdo che res da semni ge na ne tamgal ma son di che res or dang.
The wish to give and miserliness, these are two contrary minds. To the extent that one is dominant, the other will struggle to arise. Generosity the training of generosity is mental training. It's cultivating the wish to give, the wish to be of benefit to others, to give whatever is required to benefit others. The wish to give in any of those three ways, whether material generosity, giving of fearlessness, or giving of the Dharma. Miserliness, on the other hand, is not other-focused like generosity. Miserliness is primarily concerned with oneself. Generosity is the wish to give. It's placing others' needs foremost. Miserliness is the desire to keep it for myself. So mindfulness is where we place our own needs first and foremost, rather than placing the needs of others first and foremost. But if one trains well in generosity, meditating on the benefits of generosity, the faults of miserliness, and in acting in one's meditation, giving away what one actually owns, giving away things that one doesn't own but one knows other needs, meditating on giving fearlessness to those in danger, giving the appropriate teachings and advice to those in need. In this way, giving in this way, generating the ever stronger wish to be of benefit to others, coming to understand that all that we have, whether material or our inner qualities, has come about in dependence on the kindness of others. My further spiritual development, this too, will come about in dependence on the kindness of others. Reflecting like this, we'll start to see that all that we have has not only come about in the dependence on kindness of others, but we should utilize it to repay the kindness of others. Meditating like this repeatedly over a sustained period, as well as with the other meditations mentioned previously, we'll value others ever more. Thereafter, when we have the opportunity to benefit others, we will do so. And we will do so in accordance with our capacity. So where we can materially help others, we'll do so. Where we can save the life of another, we'll do so. Where we can give either a Dharma teaching or good guidance or advice, we'll readily do so. So meditation, we give in these three ways to others. In meditation, we give to the three jewels, make offering to the three jewels. In a practical sense as well, we make offerings on our shrine. In this way, continuing to train our mind in the expression of giving to others, developing the wish or developing the attitude of placing their needs first and foremost, coming to understand more in accordance with reality how we actually have all that we have in terms of inequalities and material goods. It's all come about in dependence on this interaction, this interplay between ourselves and others. And with having broken down this separation that we currently feel between ourselves and others, we'll readily share what we have with them and want to use what we have to benefit others.
Andine da denigi jimbe nyamlen chedi ne sangye jimlen digi parjin duge nyamlen da dangbo jimbe nyamlen songare jizadi nyamlen chegore be gi chimbore so jizangando jimbe ge shenlia jimbe nyamlen chebaina digi jimbe nyamlen cheda shenda digelya ne goso pengore jida penyodu ane sosola gabu yongore sosola gabu cheda sosugi pa yakbo cheban sola gabu yongoro den sosola gabu yongo jebana andelya ko sosugi lamdin chebene di nyengore beche druptugore jeza dine yenza jimbe nyamlen yakbo chegore den jinga juge sosorangi 튕겨 야 되게 아주 밀이야 디기 두여 지딘 배 대와 두여 돼 아주게 튕겨 돈에 대와 주고 그래 디 튕겨 요야디 뉴가르사 거라서네 아니 짐비 냠네 짐바 땅고 그래스 짐비 대부래스 진짜 짐바 땅면나 마타베나 디 대부 안 튕기는 용 말. 진짜 짐비 냠네 제고 그래서 아주 답에 맞게 첨부시 순 거. 진짜 당한 저기 ben에 dunro리게네 ben에 디와나네 키 이게 나를 키네 배 맞게 기대 힘부되게 돼서 야고 칼라 야고 안지 겸겸 튀야다 따도 야고 배 야고 그런 저 개왕의 짐비 대부 차도로 봐. 다 루바 가시 산다 나야 배직 루바 나라 키베 다음에 키 교보 칼라 마라 디와도도 미게 도슈는 야다다야 아니직 도신의 기디나 수부디 배 간부 교보 지 칼라 마라 님이 인간 칼라 센들이가 차고도 디제네 코로지 개왕한 막이 짐바마다에 되고 네디네 차고 제가 디네에서 먼저 밀레 디네레 제가 아주 튕겨 야고 용한테 소수 짐비 냠내 야고 제바이나 밀리 개베네 튕겨 야고 용고래 둔돌 개베네 소수 코롱 고야게 튕겨디게 야고 용고래 제가 디네자 짐베 냠내데 당봉 도시네 냠내 제고래 세상이 또 숭여래.
Buddha Shakyamuni taught generosity as the first amongst the 6 perfections. And he did this for several reasons, one of which is how easy it is to practice generosity. And it being easy to practice is of great importance, because being able to easily be of benefit to others and know that this is bringing happiness to others through the alleviation of their suffering, this brings delight to our mind. And why is it important to bring delight to our mind? It's not just the pleasure of mere temporary happiness, but to inspire us to do ever more, to inspire us in our training to develop ever more powerful, virtuous ways of thinking and accumulate ever more merit to speed up our inner spiritual transformation. So because generosity is so easy to practice, it was presented first. And the karmic results that come from generosity are that in our future lives we have an abundance of material goods. And this is required by all beings, but certainly also required to ensure that we have favorable circumstances to continue our spiritual endeavors in our future lives. And we can see the different karmic ripening results amongst beings. For example, I imagine the pets that live in your home have really quite a fabulous life. They live in a home where they have an abundance of comfort in an environment that is completely safe. Moreover, they have delicious and healthy food given to them several times a day. They don't need to do anything to get this. This is the karmic ripening result of the practice of generosity in previous lives. For so many other animals, including other pets elsewhere, they haven't accumulated such causes. They don't live somewhere safe. They don't have easy access to food. So here we can see a result of generosity.
제가 저기 야 건조를 부여야 될이야 최고 부여시고래. 제가 대야 동에 선발이야. 진짜 진발이야. 자 류로자 간세야 야 건조를 부기 선배야 라마다 상계다 전주세벌 부기 선배야 동에 부기 선배 삼로지체. 다야 건조 부여야 되는 건데 최고 부여라고 그래. 뉴 진발 동에 선발이고라. 동계에서 제긴 선배 삼면의 용 말아. 제자디 마 현달에 제들이 안 진바사 주라데 뉴 돈다 진바 차되어. 제가 디네 인상 저기 다 지게 연자부도 하되 연자부팅 추푸야시도 디 변은 소니마 자할이야 요말 연자부야기디 디 추푸팅 둔서지 푸야데 디 별에 당고 총화래 별이야 당고 총화래 대간의 중화를 조지 별이야 폐제 안에 경화도 안에 지 별도와다 남샤 장모다 인자 직신도 리단데 내게 공부로 와 제가 되는 인자다 조지기 다 경화도 별이야 추부피나 추코롱 푸네 지기도 추디 배 장마 추당마 야고 쉬우래샤 경화도 건저 추디 추바피네 추피네 지기도 선에 되는 띵둔자 둔둔지네 되네체네 추푸야게 도체네 연자 부쇼선도 도 진바 건절에 추푸야 되네 부쇼선데 되네체네 부야데 추디 부야래야 아주 세나 요 말에 되네 매제 네 추디 베베야 요 바체 깔래메 네 추디 부야래 세나 용고 말에 매반자 되네 연 추바야고 차기도 스팅켜도 추푸네 되게래세 도슈베네 연자 부야게 달소디 되네 집변 마도체네 뉴주와 당보 조지기 야 별이야 폐취송 되는 처바 연자 추변에 되게 해서 또 송전데 연자 부야기 한 달소를 되는 중고래 중화래.
The practice of generosity can go in 2 general directions. There's that generosity offered to beings who are suffering, and then there's offerings to beings who we hold with reverence. So the second type would be, for example, offerings to the 3 jewels. And here, this can be done in so many ways. As has been mentioned, one can do in meditation, making offerings to one's lama and the 3 jewels. Another way is the water bowls that we see all over here. The offering of water bowls is a unique Tibetan custom. It didn't exist in ancient India, yet it came, in a sense, from India to Tibet, in that when Lama Atisha came to Tibet, he saw that in Tibet all year long, it would have been kind of difficult to offer things such as flowers, but there was a lot of water, and water was available all year long. So he instituted the custom of offering water bowls. And he encouraged students to offer water bowls because it is so easy. There were many rivers around, certainly a lot of the year there was snow. So water could be offered with ease. In addition to that, because water was so abundant, it can be offered without a trace of miserliness. So therefore, Lama Atisha was not only the one who instigated the custom of offering water bowls, but he did so because it was so easy to do, and one could make pure offerings without a trace of miserliness.
조주 겨와 세단지바 상이 차상 유 선배 메바체체 한 소수기 메도 충충지 강아지 부위네 최고 부야 최고를 다디 내내기 부야디야 샘자 탐제 디기용하다 샘자 동화세계 돈달이 아라 상유고 와토베치도 이 삼다제 부위네 배 겨와 같이 못 사고래 지나 팬디 같이 못 사고래 지나 디네 연자 아주 다야도세 참염도디 갑리아 지게 사지 닝지보다 메도 닝초로 토베나 람서 어디 메도 베 닝주베야 어디야 야 권초래 추부여서 베게 메바치제 권초래 부베네 되게 최고부야 차고래 네 저기 최고부야야 지게 되게 뭔거로 디나신 당 진바다야리 지 삼다하도 손에 리고로 베나 저기 칼라로다 디네 닝바차 소소게 베제메바 차베나 Dene diwa buyo se dang, an buzaya dang, jia dang, jiulir, o konzo liya jimba yin samche, konzo zhogo doya pandu suko jewe ne jimba charu kuro. Dan soso ya kala sadi kawi ne, dangbo kala shubi ne, dangbo kala suyo sewe che liya, an ya gongcho liya cheba chu, ya gongcho liya pui. Den je puyo simpe mewa che, dene gongcho simche tamche dunga se digi dunda, san yokobo tubi chi puyo samche ya cheba puyo. 다른 저 피서로서 세디캅레나 소시교 수분하려야 무슨 방법 쇼처를 디스차살이야 콘솔레 진배인스 제상 콘솔 파사 저 콘솔레 류대와 셈기보용하게 된다 인삼제 도시네 삼다 사회나 디스차상은 진배냐는 차로 거래 제상 소수교 삼다하도네 라리고 데네게 삼마다제 데네 가지고 어서서 저거게 사샤바이 된다 사이나 사와이나 가지고 니 자기어데 이나 진배님네 체거 말 칼라닝바도 도시나 데베제면 바 유샤스 바 유샤베네 유샤베네 부르사도 사두거든 만저 콘솔레 제야 말아 콘 유샤로 콘스 사두거라 콘스 핑거데 이네 만저 제야 말 제사 진바 체거 말 당한서 강준 디세 진바 이 콘솔 사한다 믹토나다 마토나다 데네 바 칼라닝바도 부망보여 딜레 콘솔레 사야 판도 그래서 콘솔레 진바 인 삼다지 파 인 가서 만저 기일로스나 유샤베네 고디나데 제마 직접 부하셔 사루거든. 고도 동에 셈바 제례자 고 사루거든. 데네자 진변염는 차루거든. 데네게 진변염도 맞아 삼는 다나 돈에 라리거든. 와다.
As has been said so many times, our way of thinking is primary. Our speech and physical behavior follow from this. And the quality of our speech and behavior depends on the quality of our mind. So if one is making offerings of water bowls or flowers or incense, here take care of your mind. The quality of your mind determines the quality of the offering that is being made. Make the offering to the three jewels with an awareness that one is doing so, not just going through the motions, but actually with sincerity, making offerings to the three jewels, aware that all the Buddhas and great Bodhisattvas with their developed minds are aware of what we are doing, aware of our thoughts, and therefore we may be just laying things out on our shrine, but we are actually offering to them. And moreover, keep one's motivation in mind. We are making offerings to the three jewels, strengthening our connection with them, creating merit so as to become a Buddha for the sake of all suffering beings. So therefore, in a sense, we are making offerings to the three jewels as a representative of all sentient beings, in that we are doing it on their behalf. So this is something that we can all do readily in our homes, but we don't and shouldn't just leave it there. Training in the Dharma, practicing Dharma, means training our mind. Everywhere we go, everything we do, our mind comes with us. So when we are going about our daily activities and we observe something and it's beautiful, offer that to the three jewels. Whether one's walking in the grounds around here or whatever activities you're engaging in, you notice something beautiful, immediately offer it to the three jewels. And by doing so, especially when you take a moment to regenerate your motivation, you not only accumulate merit, but with your mind virtuous, thereafter you're much more likely to continue to engage virtue. And then to give another illustration of something we engage in so many times and present so many opportunities to create virtue, is we all eat several times a day. When we're about to eat, we can offer the meal first to the three jewels, create virtue. While we're eating, we can make offerings to the beings living in our bodies, those which will help with the digestion. Then, when we finish eating and we take our leftovers, we have a few choices. Maybe we'll scrape them in the bin, and in our mind, we know that the garbage will eventually go to the city dump, and there will be insects that will help with the decomposing of the waste. So here, offer to those mother sentient beings. Or if the leftover food is suitable, we can place it outside for the birds or for the insects, and we can offer to these mother sentient beings. And later in the day, when we go to the toilet and we pass our meal from us, we know too that there will be beings in the sewage system that will see this as food. So repeatedly, that same meal in differing ways can be offered. We can make so much merit. And here the power of merit is not just for making offerings to the three jewels or from sentient beings, but it's really through generating the virtuous mind. The stronger the virtuous mind is, the greater the desire to be of benefit to others. The deeper the sincerity of that offering, the greater the merit we will accumulate. And the verse continues, relinquish all thoughts of envy.
yarki chokuyo bana anjigya dadi yungruwa sosogi gyaga pensu inada gyera sosora inada soso magasa midi anjigi tunye da yakwara chana yang konsul ya anjigi chado geje konsul be yabu majuna sebe samle yungruwa dinige samla tagyo mares di samla di noturi esi horda.
Envy or jealousy, this too is an afflicted mind that one needs to abandon. Jealous towards the possessions or the good qualities or the opportunities or situation that others have, this is a deeply self-centered mind, concerned primarily with oneself, and not at all rejoicing in the good qualities or circumstances others have. When we're jealous about what's the qualities or the material goods someone else has, even if they are a friend, it serves to separate us from them. It can also lead to the generation of competitiveness towards others, wanting what others have. And rather than viewing them as people with their own hopes and dreams, their own desire for happiness and freedom from suffering, our mind is rather obsessed by what they have and we lack. So rather than wanting the best for others, we actually want to push them down. We want our success to come ahead of theirs, even perhaps at the expense of theirs. So therefore, envy or jealousy needs to be abandoned too.
samyata shenda digi jimi tunjian da yagora chi chungba de nesu yago chung sha sa pe yagora sa de jikchen digi chuna yagora sa ngam chasan dewa de bare dunga mi de bare koran digi chuna dewa de bana koran digi chung yagora wa sanbege da du chine samta wa ina an chado de yung ma re so da.
Rather, rejoice in what others have. Again, whether material or the inequalities or circumstances, rejoice in what they have. They have accumulated the causes to experience this. Rejoice in what they have done. And rather generate the wish, may they experience ever greater happiness. May they only accumulate causes for happiness. In particular, may they experience lasting, stable happiness. Thinking like this, there's no space in one's mind for miserliness at all. Rather, one is generating huge stores of virtue.
The
text continues, to help others' minds forsake all disputation.
Sem Naloya, Karsam Tangures, Samla Nala, Samla Yaga de Kare, there's some Yaga to Pisha Tangoya, the Yargetan with the Kare, and so some Kimacho, Kahoya de Kare, Sadige, Tangazugi, and Kasankin Chasan, and Dire, Dineza, Diring Azugi, Shea Delia, Karesene, and the chicken on Zugi, Tsik Minyan Bala Sobatang, and the Chigi, Yu Chabu, Yu Tongu. Manzu sem de jambaten xixin denje samlo de di chosu pa yema chu matangwa che ane manzu sem de sungu guri esa che ondu sam tangbo guri esa che chi shi do ande de sui ne ane che manzu ge gyuma na xin che gyudan kien le deba kala ma deba rang la na wa na xin chi de zawa kin yo ma re sembe samlo ta ya ane di na xin tang manzu ge da donda 조디 직디나 가지고 레로 자 기위 자와 제발이야 안지기 제대 매베 레로다 되니게 바가 되니게 아저기 안에 직견다 견삼다 기위 자와야 대바다 디도녀기 듬바 전주기 냠랜디게 제발나 윤대 삼다지 하는 전주 준비하다 누시네 비주당 제고레스 안데니게다 난 덴마 시행기 통요도 현 차상이야 현리야 디기 구걸 현 심자 탐제랑게 바다마 냐만 먹보주 심자 탐제랑라 진친보다 끝진친보래 심자 탐제 디니 심자 현리야 판별 삼락가 잠제 공비하다 안지게 제요 공라 공비야 동외 셈바 류롱제 가르시네 현리야 당기 선배게 판도 주요 현 동아세야단 디기 주요 두세 땅이 선배 삼로디 두수 장고그레스 데네 두수 삼로디에 야게 땅고에 디레스 하는 가서 매바 소가디 샬라 뇌베 삼바 셀나 레로 데네게 안지 차당디게 매바 소가야 디레스 하지 먼저 두시네 나디링게 들럽찬디 디고르셰셰 나딘마 상이 모두 쉐레
Actually, our time is up for today. The opportunity we have here for the teaching is impermanent, and time is up, so we'll start from this point tomorrow. But just to briefly summarize what we've looked at today, we looked at various other techniques to cultivate the inner jewels of the Dharma. And it all comes down, though, to various techniques that we need to employ through taking care of our mind, through guarding our mind, relying on the combination of introspection, mindfulness, and conscientiousness. And being aware that when our mind is in an unwholesome way, bring it back to a wholesome way. And we saw then more techniques today to bring our mind back to a wholesome way, a virtuous way, a positive way of thinking. So for example, when we notice attachment for something arising or aversion for something arising, remind ourselves it doesn't exist in the way that it appears. Rather, it is like an illusion, an apparition, or an echo. It has no self-existence at all. No happiness, no lasting, stable happiness, no true suffering can be experienced from this object. We are only perceiving it in the way that we do because of our habits. It doesn't exist in the way that it appears at all. Moreover, we looked at today the faults of laziness and procrastination. And these two are just mental habits, where we perhaps are drawn to worldly activities, or we spend time on things which are virtuous, but only in a small way, when we really rather have the capacity to engage in things of greater meaning. So here, when you recognize that within us, recall our need to spiritually develop. Recall that the faults that we have and our need to spiritually develop. And not only that, we have the capacity to do so. So here generate joyous perseverance at this tremendous opportunity that we have attained, as well as our human capacity, our human potential, and strive then to fulfill that. Here, and moreover also, we need to train in virtuous minds so that we come to value others through understanding our close interconnected relationship that is spread over lifetimes. And even in this lifetime, indirectly, we have received so much benefit from all other beings. Thinking this way, we start to value them more, and recognizing too that they are on a fundamental level no different from us. We feel a sense of closeness towards them. We see their happiness as supreme. And this starts to break down not only our separation that we feel with others, but also the self-centeredness that desires our own happiness first and foremost. This base is an ideal basis to develop love and compassion. And moreover, the stronger these virtuous minds are within us, the self-centered attitude such as miserliness or jealousy and envy, these start to arise ever less frequently. Rather, joy arises in us. Because we value others, joy arises when we see their good qualities, their good fortune, and we long for them to have ever more such good qualities and ever greater good fortune. So, in brief, what we're doing in all these trainings is being skillful with our way of thinking, keeping our mind positive, virtuous, wholesome, through our mental development, keeping it this way at all times, away from falling into depression or despair or non-virtue of any kind. And as we train in this way repeatedly over a sustained period, this starts to become second nature to us. We become habituated to such a way of thinking. And in this way, it arises in us ever more easily, and our interactions with others become ever more positive. The impact that we have on others' lives becomes ever more beneficial. Thank you very much.